You've spent all of your life following values which you've internalized from external sources. Might be parents, society, school, whatever it is. And that's fine. Humans are terrified of ostracization. So we will follow the curve a bit. We will be sheep sometimes, which is a completely natural thing to do. But if you believe that your goal in life is to understand yourself and achieve authenticity, and I'm not saying this in the way that most white women would say, where they go to yoga, get some matcha, and do a meditation, and maybe post a quote on Instagram. I mean, truly understanding yourself, the good and the ugly. That's what most people deny. Whenever they talk about finding yourself, they're like, oh, I'll find myself, I'll understand my soul. But then they'll deny the shadow, which is a Jungian concept of the really ugly parts of you. And in understanding yourself, you're going to understand your values. Now, most of the values that you hold are not truly yours, and you can tell because you have a bit of doublethink, or the word is cognitive dissonance with them. It means you hold two contradicting thoughts at the same time, because that is possible. Like, you think you believe one thing, but then you feel this way about it. Maybe it's about the value of school, the value of the workplace. It's certain morals that you kind of uphold, but it feels as if it was imposed onto you and you don't fully believe it. That's an internalized belief. And a lot of the morals and standards of today are internalized beliefs because another person has put it onto you and you feel pressured to follow them. Now, there's this guy called Nietzsche, and he's a genius. He's a genius writer. You should definitely pick him up. He said in the 19th century, which is correct, God is dead and we have killed him. He's not saying God like the actual God is dead. He was an atheist, and he believed that the concept of God, which upheld society and upheld the morals and sort of the standards and the sort of consistency of society, was dead because of atheist beliefs, the fall of Christianity. And with the fall of Christianity comes the fall of morality, because you don't have this objective moral compass to be guided by. And he feared that this death of God would lead to nihilism and would lead to hedonism and just people doing whatever they wanted to. And you can kind of see how that's true. You can see the values which we uphold today. It's a very different world than it was in a pre-secular society. And you can see it in some Muslim countries, what they're like now. If you want to debate whether that's better or worse, it's fine. But you can definitely see that there are some problems with the morality of Christianity kind of going down the drain, because that really held a very stable connection to society and had a lot of stability for the maintenance and the health of a society, because people had like a goal to strive towards together. So religion is an amazing thing for a society to an extent. Nobody can deny that. A lot of people do, but I don't particularly believe in that. But yeah, this death of God, which Nietzsche claimed, would lead to nihilism. And so in hopes, or what he thought would replace God, would be this thing called the Übermensch, and it would be a person who created their own moral values. There's this 3 metamorphoses that's quite famous online. It's you go from a camel to a lion to the baby, and you can read Thus Spake Zarathustra to understand it properly. But the baby creates its own morals and its own values. That's what the baby is. But a lot of modern day philosophers and psychologists would be quite critical of that, because we can't really create our own values. And say someone like Jung might say, well, we're kind of born with this collective unconscious which kind of dictates what we do, and that's what the archetypes of our unconscious follow. So we can't really choose. But what I think is the best play on that would be, instead of attempting to create your own values, you really need to take time in solitude to question what values are truly yours. Like, what values do you actually follow? And the litmus test that I use for that is, if I were to do this and every single person in the world were to turn against me, would I regret doing this? Because I've done some things and I thought that it was fine, but then I got like in trouble for it, and I was like, oh, I don't feel good about this. Maybe that isn't your true moral virtue. But if it's something that you truly would never regret doing, then that is your true virtue. That's your true moral. And it's not something that's been created by somebody else or imposed by somebody else. Now, it is hard to tell sometimes, especially with the weakness that a lot of people have in terms of their psyche. Like, they're not free thinkers, as Nietzsche would have said in Beyond Good and Evil, because it's very easy to change your beliefs and sort of think in accordance to the group to prevent being ostracized. And that's what a lot of people do. So you really need to do this in solitude to be able to dictate, am I following this, or do I not regret this because I get validation from the group, or because I truly believe what this is saying? So I titled it, Don't Let Idiots Dictate What You Think, or something like that, because that's what it is. It's just idiots who don't know what they believe, who don't think freely, telling you what to believe, like your parents, your schoolmates, maybe some friends, some family, everybody around you. The values which they're like expecting you to uphold and upkeep are not theirs either. They're a set of internalized morals which they uphold in fear of ostracization, which they don't even care about. And it's fine. You should probably still attempt to follow them, or at least attempt to have a guise faking that you do, like the persona that Jung talked about, the personality that you show to the world. That's just to prevent being ostracized, because obviously no one wants to be ostracized. But in terms of yourself, like, think freely. And it's hard to do because you really need to read a lot of literature about this, especially in terms of resentment, because a lot of things that you think you believe actually derive from resentment. So say a lot of people are intimidated by power and by strength, by powerful people. That's not because they believe power is not a moral virtue and that it's something abhorrent. It's because they're intimidated by powerful people and their resentment of powerful people doing things to them when they were weak. So Nietzsche talked about this as well. So did Dostoevsky. A lot of thinkers talked about this in the past. And you kind of take two roads there. If this happens to you, well, it happens to everybody because we were all weak as like kids and stuff when we were forced to submit to the power of others. But there's two roads, and you either are completely resentful of power and you attempt to be as weak as possible and you shun power and you attempt to shame it from a lot of people who are powerful. So you see it in a lot of like socialists. Even George Orwell talked about this. It's like they don't like poor people, the socialists. They just really dislike the rich. And it's not out of any virtuous reason either. It's just that they're resentful for being poor. And the other road that you can take, which is better than the other one, is the pursuit of power. You follow your authentic will to power, which is natural in every human. And that's obviously the far superior road which you can take. But it's far more dangerous, in my opinion, because if you're a weak and resentful person with no power, then you're a bit of a weirdo, but you're not going to do anything. But if you're a weak and resentful person with power, that gets dangerous. And power isn't this virtuous thing all the time. Like, think about Ted Bundy. Ted Bundy was a weak and resentful person for all of his life. He was never powerful. The times when he did have power over somebody, in which he could display his shadow, now that's when he had a little bit of power, and that's what he did with it. If you're in the pursuit of power, you really need to prevent that resentment from impacting your life very negatively, because it does, and you take it out in a very negative way. If you see how everyone acts, and you see how people act when they get a crumb of power, like you can see it like from your teachers or something, the way that they act. The second that they have an ounce of power over somebody else, like a student, they will abuse it. And you know that there's teachers like that, and you know there's politicians like that, there's people in the workplace like that, and that all comes from resentment. So when you're in the pursuit of power, really make sure that you're acting of your own authentic volition, because not only is it detrimental to people around you if you act out of resentment and your relationships, it's detrimental to you, because it's a harmful thing to derive your actions from resentment. It's a really sort of insidious thing, a pernicious thing that's really going to harm you in the future, because your decisions and all of the actions and all of the achievements you've built up become meaningless. Because once you achieve them, you're like, well, what was the point of that? I just did it out of resentment. But if you did it out of your own sort of drive, say your will to be great, not out of resentment, but your will to want to see, like to embrace yourself, to hold yourself to a high standard, like to see you in a great light. Like if you want to do that, yeah, that's great. If you want to achieve something out of your love for somebody, say if you want to have a great relationship with somebody and you want to have kids with them and you want to improve your family life and you want to improve your relationship with your parents, not out of this resentment that you want to show to the world how great you are. Like, oh, I'm in a happy relationship. Look at me smiling and laughing on social media. No, if you do it out of love for those people, now that's something you can achieve. And I truly believe that that's your intrinsic values. Love is an inherent one, but it's a really tough one to figure out. So don't let idiots tell you what you believe. Figure it out yourself. You don't figure it out by just sitting and reading some quotes on Instagram. You go alone. It's going to take you years. I still haven't. You read some books, bro. Read Nietzsche, read Dostoevsky, read the existentialists, read the theologians. Read every piece of literature you can get your damn hands on. And maybe then you'll understand like a tiny % more of who you are than you did before. And that's really all that you need. Don't be some weird, like, oh, I'm just trying to find myself. Don't be like that. That's annoying. Okay, bye.